Hello. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. So I'm really excited to be here as well. I want to share with you some tips and tricks about building apps on the Community Cloud platform. First thing first, this presentation may contain forward-looking statements. Please make all purchase decisions based on currently existing functionality. So a quick introduction on me. I work for an ISV called Encino. We work in the financial services sector, building our apps on the Salesforce platform. What I do specifically is I work on our customer engagement solution, which is built on Community Cloud. It allows banks' customers to apply for loans, onboard checking accounts, and so forth online. So big fan of Community Cloud, been working with it for about 3 years. And there's a lot of new exciting things I want to share and talk about with Community Cloud that are coming up. So how many people here are familiar with Community Cloud? All right. And how many people have developed an app using Community Cloud before? Awesome. OK. So with Community Cloud, you have the capability to focus all the power of Salesforce, all the business processes you have, all of your data, deeply integrate that with the digital engagement experience that your customers have. It was really powerful. And also, the fact that Salesforce provides such granular control of security really lets you feel comfortable with those touch points between your customers and your data. So this is just a look at, what's the path of communities looked like over the past few years. For a long while, there were the Salesforce tabs, Visualforce communities. And with those, you would use Visualforce pages to build custom functionality. It had more of like a classic Aloha sort of look and feel. It's still relevant today, actually. So if you want to build something that looks completely custom based on third-party web frameworks like React, Angular, Vue, that's still an option. But what we have now is Lightning Communities. So with Lightning Communities, it's a very declarative experience setting up your community. It's drag and drop, visual previews. It's based around Lightning components, so you have a more modern look and feel to it. And right now, there's just so much investment, so many new features coming, that it's really a good time to start looking into making that move if you're still using Visualforce communities today. Also, another thing of note, Lightning flows, really exciting. You can use those with Lightning communities. I'm going to talk briefly later about that and show a little bit about how that works. All right, so for an example, I want to talk about an app that we can create using Community Cloud. And there's a GitHub here if you want to follow along or just grab it and look at the code later. But the idea with this example app is that we are providing access to campsites around North Carolina, nice natural sites. And our company is already using Salesforce, but we really want to be able to use Community Cloud to get our customers to have an engagement experience with us online, all on one platform. So if we're looking at architecture here, one thing we're going to need to do is list what campsites are available. So to do that, I wanted to use Angular here, just kind of spice things up a little bit. So if you're a fan of the Angular JS library for building front ends, you can use that in your community. And so, the latest and greatest in AngularJS world is components. So with this example, we are creating a view using Lightning Design System and then using an Angular component. And using something called Visualforce Remoting, we're going to make requests out to Apex to get data and then present that back to the user. So what is Visualforce Remoting exactly? For people that are familiar with Visualforce, there's a lot of factors that are similar to the sort of web forms-based development, where you have like full page requests, you have a form, you have bindings. But what some people don't know is with Visualforce, you can also build these modern full-stack JavaScript applications. You can do that by having HTML5 and CSS, using your JavaScript library of choice like Angular, and then making these small, efficient requests to get data and put data on the server, and really optimize that and create a great experience. So here, setting up our list of available campsites. This is an example of just a bare bones Visualforce page. There's no header, there's no CSS, and so forth. We have includes for the Lightning Design System, so we can benefit from all the styling that comes with that. We have our jQuery and AngularJS libraries there. and essentially just a kind of a boilerplate where we will put our app. So one of the first things you'd want to do in this scenario is set up your view. Come up with a design how you want your app to look, how you want to best present this data. So with Lightning Design System, they have a great online website, a reference page where you can browse through different component blueprints and see how they look, see what would make the most sense for your app. Once you pick one, they provide markup. You can put that markup in your app and use that as a starting point to get things up and running. So this is an example of a simple AngularJS component to do what we want to do. You'll see it's bound to the view we create, which is the HTML with a Lightning Design System styling. It also has just an on-init routine where when it loads up, it's going to ask for those campsites. And through the magic of Angular, it's going to actually just render those out in a list on screen. So this is an example of HTML that has Angular included in it. With that HTML, you'll see ng repeat, which is saying, for every campsite I have, print out the following. And beyond that, we'll print out the campsite name. And also not shown here, we will have a reserve now link. You click that, it's going to kick off a process for you to reserve that online. So this is an interesting thing. This is a little bit more in depth, but Visualforce, has ways of pulling data from the server, from your controller. But you'll need that data in your AngularJS JavaScript code. You'll need that in memory. So this is an example of a pattern you can do using a Visualforce component with a controller. You can actually set up things like custom labels, URL for. You can do things like remote actions and pass those in to Angular to use later. And also, this is all in GitHub, so if you want to dig deeper and see exactly how it all ties together, please do. And then so finally, our page here, we've added all the script includes for the component itself, the Angular component. And you'll see the very lightweight include down at the bottom, campsite list. That's our Angular component. That's going to render those lists, that list of campsites for you. All right, so I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to demonstrate the Angular functionality we just talked about using Visualforce, how to use that within a Lightning community, how to pull that in. All right, so here we are. I've gone into Community Builder, and this is for dance campsites. And so right now, there's already some digital marketing content here. You can see, just some hero shots of the Appalachian Mountains, and some information about what the business is about. And there's also some of the out-of-box components like Ask a Question, which ties into support. But what we want to do is we're going to add that list of campsites using Visualforce and Angular to this page. So it's very easy to do. If we want to put it down here below this content section, I'm going to go into the components view here. I'm going to take this Visualforce page component, and I'm going to drop that down here with drag and drop right down below. Whoops. There we go. Right here below this content section. And the great thing is with Community Builder here, you get a real-time preview with real data of what your component actually is going to look like, which is really, really exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and publish that change, make that change live to the community members. Now, there's another thing we want to do. So whenever we hit reserve now, that's going to kick off this process to reserve the campsite online. Well, that sounds like a lot of work. But the good thing is, the power of Lightning Flow, you're able to declaratively create a process, something like an online application, without writing any code in a matter of minutes. So here, this reserve now link, it just points to the record ID of a campsite. There's a custom object we have here in this project. But if we go here, we look at the record detail page for campsite. So right now, that's just going to have a simple record banner showing the name of a campsite, in this case, Carolina Beach State Park. Here, if we go into components, we can add a flow to this page. So I'm going to drag and drop this flow here. I'm actually going to move that up to the content section. There we go. All right, so with this flow, we can enter in a flow name. That's the flow that would execute. The context object ID is going to be the record ID, which is the campsite that's in context. I'm going to save that. All right, and then let that refresh. I'm going to publish that. So what is this flow actually? So here in Flow Designer, this is an example of a visual flow. This is a visual flow to apply for Campsite Online. And it does a few initial things. It does some record lookups. It gets the community user information, contact, account. It all builds up that information, builds that context up. It's going to create an application record, which represents tying all the data together. This is the application we received. This is the reservation for the campsite. Really exciting here. These screens let you declaratively decide which fields are actually presented at each step. So if you see here, we're asking for arrival and departure date, number of campers. And those are going to be presented and captured, and then we can create records off of that, mapping that data over. All right, so we have the flow in place now. At the very end, we'll let the user review all the information they entered in, make sure everything looks good. They can submit, and if you see here, this complete application step, it's actually going to take the application record that was set up through this whole process, and it's going to set the status to complete, which can kick off workflows inside Salesforce. It can send reminders. It can notify people that their reservation's been made. All right. So let's take a look at, from the customer's point of view, what does this community look like? I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. OK, so now we have the original page plus our list of campsites. So they look great with these Lightning Design System cards. And that's all being rendered via an Angular app served through Visualforce in the Lightning community. Another really exciting thing about this is that Lightning Communities promotes responsive mobile design. So all these columns that are set up through communities, if you were to change the screen size, you'll see it automatically collapses and it provides a great mobile experience, whether you're on a handset form factor, or if you were to go to something like a tablet, you'll have a good experience across the board. So that being said, at this point, Hot Springs is sounding really good. I think we should go ahead and reserve Hot Springs. So we hit the Reserve Now link. So this is really exciting. Once I've come in here, I can see the context of campsite is Hot Springs, but also these fields are being rendered for me. I didn't have to write any code to do this. So for our reservation, let's do this weekend. And we're going to do 4 campers. So at this point, so this is another awesome feature of Lightning Flow. You can set up stages so that you can guide the user through a process. You can see visually how far are they through the process and how far do they have to go. Because really, if you're doing some kind of online process, you want to be transparent with the user. Their time is limited. Their time is valuable. Don't let them feel like they're going to be in here all day. So we're partway through this. At this point, it's created an application record. It's created the initial reservation record in Salesforce. Now we're going to capture more information. So here, this is through the flow. This pre-populates with all the personal contact info we already know about the customer. If it's an existing customer, we don't want them to have to fill this information out twice. If they do want to come in and update their information, they can. And also, we want them to agree to the terms and conditions here. Go ahead and hit next. All right, so now contact information is up to date. They're able to see all the information that's been captured so far. If you wanted to go back, you can use previous to go to prior stages in the Lightning Flow. But for now, we're going to go ahead and hit next. Good to go. So one interesting little feature I added in here, again, using the Flow Designer. If you see this upload files here, it's possible to take custom Lightning components and add them to screen in Visual Flow. So you could build, if you really need custom functionality, you could build a sophisticated Lightning component or use one of the many existing Lightning components out of the box, drag and drop that onto that screen, and you have that functionality. What this is the file upload Lightning component comes out of the box from Salesforce, and it's able to upload a file directly to content, tie that file to the notes and attachments, and also to the files related list on a particular record. This is really cool. So let me try and just upload a file, maybe a picture of some mountains. So I'll kick that off. I'll get my progress indication. Looks good. Hit done. All right, so that's complete. So what all has happened at this point? So the customer's done. They see that the application's going to be reviewed. They'll hear back from the campgrounds team. Over here, back in Salesforce, if I work for Dan's Campsites, I can go take a look at my applications list here. Let's switch over to show all. And I can see all the applications that are coming in completely originated online. And so this is just inbound business coming through. And here it looks like there's a new application for a campsite in Hot Springs I just got from Krista Shelton. So if I pull that, the Lightning flow was able to tie records together. It associated the application record to a reservation record. It tied in an account for the customer community user. There's all these connections being made in the background. And it's also tied to the original campsite that was requested by the customer. And so if we also look at reservations here, I'll switch to show all. All right. And so here, this is the reservation record that was created for Krista. This is, it's got the notes, it's got the arrival and departure dates, everything's ready to go. So once I feel like this application is complete, if I return here, go to show all, I'll take this application and I'm going to approve it by changing the status. So this is really an end-to-end process of originating product online where you have stages and status, you have that flow, but it starts with the customer. It doesn't start with you. So it's really a low-touch thing. I mean, you can promote growth in your business hugely by letting that stuff originate online. All right, that's my entire demo. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, I have time for a few questions, just briefly. All right, in that case, I'll be down here if you want to ask me anything on the side. And also, please take a moment to explore more on GitHub. I will post the link to this GitHub on the chatter feed for this presentation. If you want to follow up, check it out, please. And feel free to reach out with any questions. Thanks, everybody.